Hello, welcome to Chronic Illness. In this video, I want to tell you about a supplement that has been instrumental in my transition from severe ME or chronic fatigue syndrome to a moderate to mild version of the illness. I'm really excited and really nervous about this video. On the one hand, it's hard for me to overstate just how much this supplement has improved my condition, and I'm hoping it will do the same for others. On the other hand, I don't want to generate false hope. This is by no means a miracle cure, but it has significantly reduced my symptoms of pain, fatigue, and post-exertional malaise. The product I'm talking about is Barley Grass Powder, but before I go into detail about it, a quick disclaimer about supplements. This video is part of a series I'm doing on supplements that can help with the symptoms of chronic fatigue syndrome or myalgic encephalomyelitis and other chronic illnesses. Now, notice I said help with symptoms. Supplements are not cures. I see a lot of scams out there and snake oil salesmen taking advantage of desperate people and peddling products that claim to be a cure for ME/CFS. There is no product or treatment that can cure chronic fatigue syndrome, and I don't want to give anyone false hope. I just want to share the supplements that have reduced my symptoms. Now, just because they worked for me doesn't necessarily mean you'll get the same results. You need to tailor your choice of supplements to your own body and needs. And remember, just because something is natural or a supplement rather than a prescription medication doesn't necessarily mean that it's gentle or guaranteed safe to take. Some supplements interfere with other medications or exacerbate other medical conditions, so clear it with your doctor or pharmacist first. That said, there is some hope to be had. I think it's highly likely you'll see improvement by using some of the products I mention, so I do encourage you to look into them. Just don't expect a miracle, you know? I'll also add that I have no affiliation with any of these products. They're just things that I've bought with my own money and I've seen good results, so I want to share that information with others. So what is barley grass powder and how can it alleviate the symptoms of chronic illness? Barley grass powder is the shoots of the young barley plant that have been dried and ground into a green powder that can be mixed with water and drunk. I'll just show you here. It is. Look at that. Ew. Yeah, see if it'll focus. Anything that green has got to be good for you. Because it's a whole plant product, it's more of a food than a traditional supplement or medication, and that confers some advantages. Based on my biology degree and the additional research that I did for this video, barley grass can help with chronic illness in two main ways. The first is that it is chock full of vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and other dietary nutrients that your body needs. Consuming the recommended daily intake of nutrients is important for everyone, but especially for those whose bodies are fighting illness. People with chronic illness are also more prone to developing nutritional deficiencies than healthy people for several reasons. First, it's much harder to plan, shop for, cook, and eat a perfectly balanced, healthy diet when you're in pain all the time and you have very little energy. And often not a lot of money, since chronic illness usually brings poverty with it. It takes a lot of physical and mental energy to shop for all the items you need, to chop up all the ingredients, cook everything, and clean up all the mess in the kitchen. When you're sick, often the most complicated thing you can prepare is some toast, maybe some 2-minute noodles, maybe just eat a slice of cheese or some olives straight from the jar of the fridge. Add on top of that symptoms like nausea, loss of appetite, and food aversions, and you might be forced to turn to more palatable but less nutritious foods just so you can keep something down. Add to that the fact that pain and fatigue make you crave more junky foods. It's easier to comfort eat when you're tired and in pain. Additionally, food allergies and sensitivities often come along with chronic illness, which can restrict the foods you can eat, including otherwise healthy foods like fruit and vegetables. You may have gastrointestinal issues or other conditions that stop you properly absorbing nutrients. So even if you're eating healthy meals, your body may not be able to fully utilize all those nutrients. Throw some depression in the mix and it's even harder to maintain a healthy diet. But there's more. There is one issue that I don't see discussed enough, and that is that when authorities set guidelines for optimal nutrient levels and recommended daily intakes, They base it on data derived from healthy individuals. All the recommended intakes are tailored to healthy people. Yet we know that stress and disease states alter nutrient requirements. Your body will run through certain vitamins and minerals more quickly when it's stressed. So those who have an underlying illness or inflammation will need higher intakes of some nutrients than healthy people. For all these reasons, supplementing the diet with some extra vitamins and minerals can be of benefit to people with ME/CFS and similar illnesses. That's where a supplement like barley grass powder comes in. Because it's so nutrient rich, it can help plug those nutritional holes in your diet. Barley grass helps to fuel your body with the vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and other beneficial compounds it needs to carry out growth and repair and to perform all its metabolic processes, which we desperately need if we're to have some degree of functionality with this wretched illness. In an ideal world, we'd get all our nutrition from a perfectly planned whole foods diet. But for those of us for whom that's not tenable, we need to cheat and use supplements. There are too many vitamins and minerals in barley grass to list them all, but I'll mention some of the major ones. Barley grass contains vitamins A, C, and E, and vitamins B1, B2, B3, B6, and B12, which are important in energy production. It also contains the minerals calcium, phosphorus, copper, sulfur, iron, magnesium, manganese, potassium, and zinc, among others. So if you're in need of those nutrients, barley grass can help. Okay, so we need some extra nutrients. Why not just take a multivitamin? Seems easier than mixing up some powder. I'm so glad you asked, because that brings me to the second mechanism by which barley grass helps alleviate the symptoms of chronic illness. Because it's a whole plant food, it contains a lot of other healthy compounds besides vitamins and minerals, and these can work synergistically to improve health. Sometimes when you isolate an active ingredient and take it out of the food it came from, it doesn't work as well. A lot of the beneficial substances in whole foods work best in concert with each other. They enhance each other's performance. So because barley grass is still a whole plant product, albeit ground up, those synergistic effects are preserved. And unlike vitamin pills, it's unlikely to deliver too high a dose of any one nutrient, which I'll expand more on later. A lot of the benefit of barley grass comes from the many antioxidant and anti-inflammatory substances found in the plant. Both oxidation and inflammation are natural body processes. They aren't always a bad thing, but when you have too much of them, they can damage healthy cells, leading to various diseases and unpleasant symptoms. A good portion of the symptoms of ME/CFS and many other illnesses come from or are exacerbated by inflammation and oxidative stress. Ruiz Medina et al. 2019 write, "Oxidative stress plays a pivotal role in the initiation and progression of many diseases. It is necessary to have antioxidants with free radical scavenger activity to mitigate against free radical damage. Taking in plenty of antioxidants through the diet will neutralize this damage. Likewise, eating anti-inflammatory foods will, of course, counteract inflammation. As with the vitamins and minerals, there are actually so many beneficial substances in barley grass, I don't have time to list them all here. I will provide some notable ones, but for more detail, see Zhang et al. 2018, linked below. Barley grass is rich in chlorophyll, carotenoids, and polyphenols, including 37 different flavonoids. These compounds are potent antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. It also contains 300 different enzymes, including many with antioxidant and anti-inflammatory actions. It contains the neurotransmitter GABA, which promotes relaxation, regulates sleep, and alleviates pain. It has tryptophan, which also improves sleep. It has beta-glucan, a fibre that alleviates constipation. Barley grass and some of its components have been shown to regulate blood sugar and blood pressure, enhance immunity, reduce fatigue, promote detoxification of pesticides and heavy metals, and reduce LDL cholesterol and its oxidation, which helps prevent heart disease. Barley grass and its components have been shown to improve the outcomes of diabetes, depression, rheumatoid arthritis, and cardiovascular disease, among others. It has cancer-fighting properties and even a little bit of protein, which you wouldn't get from a multivitamin pill. Also, because it's consumed in liquid form, it's absorbed rapidly, especially if taken on an empty stomach. Some spoonies have conditions like gastroparesis, and their bodies may struggle to break down a big vitamin pill. but they likely will absorb more of the nutrients from a liquid supplement like barley grass. The powder is very finely ground, so it's easily absorbed. Also, the fact that it is a whole food product means the nutrients tend to be in a more absorbable form than some of the forms used in synthetic vitamins. To be clear, I'm not against vitamin pills by any means, they have their place, but if you're looking for an overall health tonic, barley grass is just a more complete, more effective strategy in my opinion. Well, I think I've made the case for taking barley grass pretty well. Now I want to share my personal experience. I started taking barley grass maybe 2 years ago. It took a few weeks of daily use to really notice a difference, but there was definitely a difference. After 2 or 3 weeks taking it, I just felt better, lighter, I had more energy, a little less brain fog, and I just felt less yuck than usual. You know what I mean, that post-exertional malaise feeling where you just feel awful. Everything aches, you're so tired, you can't sit up in a chair, you can't concentrate, you're a bit nauseous. This stuff basically reduced that feeling. It reduced how awful I felt on a daily basis. And the benefits only increased the longer I took it. My energy continued to increase and my pain decreased. Just to be clear, I'm still sick. I'm still nowhere near as well as a healthy person, but I'm not horrifically bad anymore. And barley grass has been a big contributing factor to that. Now, I can't promise that you'll see the same dramatic results as I did. I think part of the reason it worked so well for me is that in the years before I started taking it, my diet was pretty poor. I had the knowledge of how to plan a healthy diet and I enjoyed cooking when I had the energy for it, but I didn't have the energy or even the money to maintain it long term. I would cook a healthy dinner some nights, but many other nights I just couldn't. So we would eat pasta and sauce or toast, pizza if we could afford it, or sometimes I would just have a spoon of peanut butter. I also had a long period of time where I was getting a lot of nausea, food aversions, and basically had no appetite whatsoever due to changes in my medications and other things. That caused me to drastically undereat, and the foods that I could manage to stomach weren't always the healthiest, but they were the best I could do. So I had a long period where I just wasn't getting enough nutrients. Some days I was eating well, but those days weren't enough to make up for all the bad days. Not enough vitamins and minerals, not enough protein, sometimes just not enough calories overall. And I suspect that's why I had such dramatic results. If you aren't as undernourished as I was, your results might be more modest. Particularly if you already eat a lot of vegetables, especially dark green leafy vegetables like kale, broccoli, bok choy, rocket, I think you call it arugula in America. That's kind of what barley grass is. It's like kale in a glass, basically. If you can't manage to cook yourself broccoli and kale every day, you can cheat and drink your veggies in powder form. That said, you should still aim for a healthy diet as much as possible. Don't think that just because you consume barley grass, you can eat all the junk food you want. Barley grass is not a replacement for healthy food, but it's a good backup. It's much better than nothing. A word of caution, I want to expand a little on the general information I gave you about supplements at the start of this video. As with any change in treatment plan, you should consult a medical professional. Now, barley grass powder is pretty safe as supplements go. For most people, it's safe to try. However, some people with ME/CFS and similar illnesses are extremely sensitive to new foods. Some develop allergies and intolerances, some develop multiple chemical sensitivity or mast cell activation syndrome, and certain foods will cause a flare-up in their symptoms, or they could even trigger a serious allergic reaction. Some spoonies also have very sensitive digestion, as ME often brings with it gastrointestinal problems, as do illnesses like fibromyalgia and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. If any of this applies to you, if you know you're sensitive to new foods, it's best to consult an expert before trying barley grass. The same goes if you know you have a condition where you can't have too much of a certain vitamin or mineral. Some vitamins and minerals can become toxic if you consume too much of them. It's generally hard to consume a toxic dose from foods as opposed to pills, which are highly concentrated, but it is possible, especially if you have a condition that can cause this. For example, people with hemochromatosis can't consume too much iron. So if you know you have a condition like this, you should check with an expert whether barley grass is safe for you to take, and if so, what dosage is appropriate. You might be able to take it, but just keep the dose small. Onto the products I use. In this section, I'll tell you what barley grass I use and also give you some options for greens powders other than barley grass if for some reason you can't tolerate barley. I will quickly add here, there's no gluten in barley grass powder. A lot of spoonies can't tolerate gluten, but the gluten in barley and wheat is in the grain, not in the young shoots. For those who are celiac or extremely sensitive to gluten, make sure you go for a brand that is processed in gluten-free facilities just to avoid any trace amounts. The brand of barley grass powder I originally started with was from Synergy Natural, but they no longer sell that product. They do, however, sell other powdered greens products which you might prefer, so I'll still link the site below. But since I couldn't get barley grass from Synergy Natural anymore, I switched to the one from Honest to Goodness. It comes in 1 kilo bags, which is ideal for me as I go through a lot of this stuff. So I like to buy it in bulk and as cheaply as possible. This one is good value for money at $63 per kilo. This is a 1 kilo bag, which is equivalent to just over 2 pounds. It's a hefty chunk, as you can see. And I've taken some of the powder out of this one. I had to open it. So you do get a lot. That will last you many months. And I like to, I kept the jar from the Synergy Natural because using the paper bags, it's really inconvenient and messy to get the stuff out every day. So I transfer it into this container. It's much easier to use. You might not want to start by purchasing a full kilo. I buy the kilo bags because I know I'm going to use them. I'm never going to stop taking this stuff as long as I live. But you might prefer to start with a smaller quantity to see whether it works for you before you buy in bulk. You might like to try a few different brands. If you really can't stand the taste of the plain barley grass powder, there are some that are flavored and sweetened to make them taste nicer. Just make sure the brand you buy is grown free of pesticides and that it's cold processed, as heat can damage some of the beneficial compounds. If you can't tolerate barley, you might even prefer a greens powder that isn't from barley. Wheatgrass powder is very similar nutritionally. It will do basically the same thing as barley grass, and it's also gluten-free. There are also other green powder blends where they've combined various dried green vegetables and shoots into a powder. For example, the Synergy Natural brand also sells wheatgrass, chlorella, spirulina, and various blends of greens powders. Those should have a similar effect as barley grass. The reason I opt for barley grass is A, it's cheaper than the fancy blends, and B, it tastes much less disgusting than wheatgrass powder and some of the other blended greens powders I've tried. Wheatgrass powder is awful. It just has this nasty dankness to it. Ugh. Whereas barley grass, look, I'm not gonna pretend that it tastes good. In fact, as the thumbnail of this video says, my name for barley grass powder is swamp juice. That's what I call it at home. Look at that, straight from the swamps of the Dagobah system. Actually, as I was writing the script for this video, I kept writing swamp juice and having to correct it to barley grass. I mean, look at it. Look at it. It looks like swamp juice. It tastes like swamp juice. So it's not exactly pleasant, but it is less unpleasant than other green blends out there. Honestly, it's not even that bad. To me, it tastes sort of vegetable-y. Now, admittedly, I take a lot of it. I mix 3 heaped teaspoons of powder into a glass of water. First, I make a kind of paste to get the lumps out. I call this stage miracle sludge. Then I add the rest of the water and it becomes swamp juice. I'm a champion at sculling down disgusting medicines, so I just drink it straight. The taste really doesn't bother me. If you really can't stand the flavor, you could dilute it more. You could mix it into juice instead of water. Maybe add it to a smoothie, make it a green smoothie. Or like I said, you can opt for one of the pre-flavored blends. Now, to get the most benefit out of it, you have to consume a large enough quantity and you have to be consistent. The beneficial effects of barley grass powder are somewhat dose dependent. So the more you take, the stronger the effect within reason. Barley grass has worked so well for me because I take a decent amount and I take it every single day. As I said, I take 3 heaped teaspoons per day. That's a lot, I know, but I felt like my body needed it, especially early on. I still take 3 heaped teaspoons, but they're not heaped quite as high these days. Now, don't try taking that much straight away. You have to give your body time to get used to it, especially if you have a sensitive tummy. Start with just a little bit, maybe half a teaspoon in a glass of water, and gradually increase it until you're taking at least 2 to 3 teaspoons each day. And be consistent. If you just take a little teaspoon here and there, you probably won't see much of a difference. To really see if it works for you, gradually work up to 2 or 3 rounded or heaped teaspoons and take that dose every day for at least a month, I think. Lastly, don't drink tea or coffee at the same time you have your barley grass, because those can block the absorption of some nutrients. Taking it on an empty stomach is probably best for absorption, so just before a meal or a snack. That way you've got something to wash the swamp juice taste out of your mouth. Okay, so that's it for this video. Please remember, it's not a cure. I hope so much that barley grass will give you the benefits that it has given me, but there's no guarantee. If you do end up trying it, please come back and let me know down in the comments, even if it's months from now. I'll keep an eye on the comment section for this video because I'm interested to hear any feedback you might have, and I'm sure others will too. Well, I'm going to finish my swamp juice. Like, subscribe, share, all the things, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Drink your swamp juice. You know, I was thinking, you know that part in The Empire Strikes Back where Yoda is training Luke and they're in the swamp? And like, Luke tastes some of Yoda's food that's cooking and it tastes disgusting. I have a theory that it tastes so gross because Yoda was cooking with swamp water. That's why it tasted so disgusting. Yep, I'm calling it. That's canon. Oh, coffee, 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 coffee. I only let myself have 2 coffees a day, just because I can't have too much caffeine. But over time, my coffee, the size of my mug has just increased. Look, it's like half the size of my head. So that's how I get around my own rules. Precious coffee. This is cup number 2, so there's no more today after this.
Oh. Because I was going from the bottom, you could see the little... It's a swamp juice skid mark.
It is a skid mark. And no, I'm not sponsored by Big Barley Grass. I know this video comes across a little like an ad, but I don't get any money for this. This is just what I take. Although maybe I should start my own barley grass business. I'd definitely call it swamp juice. Farmer Jill's patented swamp juice. Farmer Jill's miracle sludge. Also, how cute is my little baby Stein? I shall call him Mini-Me. It tastes like swamp juice.
Here you go, buddy. Breakfast of champions.
It's a single-celled protein combined with synthetic aminos, vitamins, and minerals. Everything the body needs.
Ugh.